I am seated upon my forefathers' throne of rot, their putrid crown brandished proudly atop my shame and coxcomb. All around me the West burns and her foundations crumble. I revel in the chaos. I can thank my mother for that. A Ronin without a home, a stationary drifter, the world's disenfranchised son, I am forever nomad. The weatherman on the radio today predicted an impending demographic winter. Forecasts look bleak. I think of my son and all that I should be able to promise him but cannot. I think of my brothers and the struggles they will have to endure. I think of my grandparents and how they have become strangers to this brave new world. I think of myself and all that I have accomplished and all that I will accomplish, and I cannot help but laugh. I laugh constantly and uncontrollably. Inside my head, I am always laughing. I know not what I ought to know, and I behave in a manner which one should not behave in. In your palace walls, O mighty king, do you know what I know? I am free, and I am alive. I am so joyfully alive. Seraphim hymnals, piety's prayer, a cacophony of lamentations, gnashing teeth, and the clack of whips. Solomon's choir, perched in the rafters, is singing for us. Spectres of Eusonia dance along the walls like shadows cast by flames. 3 large cracks spiderweb across the worn, scuffed marble floor, starting off at the farthest western corner of the room, splintering off south, north, and east, and then upwards toward the ceiling. The tapestries along the wall have been seared, charred, faded, with no discernible images to be made out. Maroon silken drapes so dark they seem almost black, trimmed with gold lace-speckled bi-fire opal, hang over the 8 glass-paned windows on both sides of the chamber. I don my priest robe and my jester mask, the mummer king adorned in motley. The presence of the day, the month, the year surround me as I'm seated on my diamond-plated throne. Behind me stands Vishnu. His many arms are wrapped around my chest. I can feel his bloodlust through the tip of each of his thousands of fingers pressed firmly against me. There is Keket to my right, surrounded by a swirling black chaos with a Cthulhu heart and a Maiat mouth, eyes of Saturn, and hands like an army of frogs. To my left, seated on the armrest of my throne, is Freya, Brisingamen pressed against her breast. A horned helmet hides her sun-bleached hair. Spring is in attendance, bedecked with flowers, as well as summer, who wears a garland of spear-like ripened grain. Next to summer is autumn, with feet reddened with grape juice, followed by winter, who has his hoarfrost in his hair. Today stands across the room, always attentive to the present, next to him his squire, Tomorrow, built like a beanpole, young and spry. The elder Yesterday stands behind the two. His sterling silver beard, a matted and tangled mess, hangs down to his navel. On his arm is Utopia in all her beauty. An iridescent shawl drapes slightly off of her one shoulder and then slips to the other. In shuffles and clanks, the chain gang made up solely of Moloch, whose horns have been sheared clean off, and Dionysus, who is muttering madness and somehow has managed to put himself into a drunken stupor. They take their places next to each other in the dock at the front of my throne, heads high in protest of the conviction they know is to come. What rain of frogs has drowned the senses of the world and turned us into dull, mindless beasts of burden? Now begins the arraignment of Moloch, Molech, Milcom, Malcolm, Baal. Please step forward. You are utter filth, solitude, and ugliness. What do you have to say for yourself? Moloch, the false idol of man. Moloch, the bear and the bull. Moloch, the devourer of children. Moloch, who sits on top of the power hierarchy. Moloch, whose soul is electricity and banks. Moloch, who bathed millions in fire. Moloch, the purveyor of infants. Moloch, the machinations of war. Moloch, whose blood is running money. Moloch, whose hope caused poverty. Moloch, who killed agraria. Moloch, whose state is illegitimate, bulldozed homes and new settlements. Men loaded up like sardines and shipped around the world and back again in oaken boxes. Remote control murder. Dead children transplanted from shore to shore. An endless stream of dearth. Moloch, whose concrete fields of grass have transformed our landscape. Moloch, whose spiraling skyscrapers of steel light up the night. Moloch, whose poison breath warms up the earth. Moloch, whose piss causes the oceans to rise. Moloch, whose flashing lights of green, yellow, and red control our lives. Moloch, whose smile is endless daylight. Moloch, whose agents read my every thought. Moloch, whose satellites track my location. Moloch, who watches me through my camera. Moloch, whose freedom is the eye of Horus. Moloch, whose servers are filled with secrets. Moloch, in whom men die lonely. Moloch, who placed sex in my pocket. Moloch, who praises the harlot. Moloch, who lets Lilith run free. Moloch, who calls this abuse liberation. Moloch, who replaced the father. Moloch, the castrator of men. Moloch, whose fingers act like separate governments. Moloch, whose eyes are TV screens. Moloch, whose stream of consciousness supplies the teleprompters of the elites. Moloch, that dictates our language. Moloch, whose dialectic is silence. Moloch, that shut the Overton window. Moloch, who has separated church from state. Moloch, whose feet trample dissidents. Moloch, whose wealth is comprised of stem cells. Moloch, whose sex rips babies from womb. Moloch, the ever-lover of carnality. Moloch, whose hymnals have brought us below replacement. Moloch, in whom we praise the hydra of our enemy. Moloch, whose hands guide us into the night. Moloch, whose feasts are prepared with bugs. Moloch, whose stomach is a trash can filled with rotting meat and produce. Moloch, whose ribs are starving children. Moloch, whose tears run through lead-lined pipes. Moloch, whose mind is woke capital. Moloch, Molech, Milcom, Malcolm, Baal. Concrete pods, reverse gentrification, 13-degree angled toilet seats, humans caged above robot work zones, stucco houses made of ticky-tack, identical exits, endless potholes, little sex pots, androgynous youths. An arraignment and a conviction. Guilty! 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 You have been found guilty of all things evil, sentenced to die by the hands of the young which you have so casually cast into the flames. Liberation, lost generations, a new guiding hand for lemmings. No longer shall we be led off the cliff to our deaths. A two-sided blade, endless rivers of blood, baptism in hellfire. The salvation of our great state, your death shall lead to death, and that death shall lead to paradise lost. The grind of hard labor, the hardships of the proletariat, the toil of serf and sweeper. The tale of common things. Your tawdry rule has ended, the charges have been read, the guillotine is sharpened, the method of your execution set. There will be no flowers at your grave, no tears wept in mourning, no bidding farewell. The celebrations of tomorrow, sung by cherubs and children, and down you shall go on the American River. Moloch's demise was swift, his head rolled across the floor. Vishnu quickly moved to pick it up and set it at my feet. Who had left us for dead in the shadows of Nubia with nigh a light to guide the way? No, wailed Dionysus. I am Dionysus. I am Bacchus. I have done nothing to deserve this. All I have brought this world are pleasures and ecstasies. Drink, drugs, sex, highs, hallucinations, hysteria, mania, lunacy, orgasms, soma, nothing but fulfilled desires, complete relief. I am the reason that the whores and harlots are half price. Who do you think has convinced the priest's daughters to give it up for free? I was the one who passed the Communications Decency Act. I lifted you up out of your Puritanism and brought you into the modern world. I am Janet Jackson's teat. I am the hot-blooded romance of Hollywood. I am the reason there's a bar on every corner and why you can buy marijuana at a dispensary. I am happy hour and $1 drink wells. I helped cultivate the tobacco fields when they grow, and I am he who compels the gas stations to sell cigarettes at the lowest price allowed by the state. I am the soldiers in Arabia who guard the poppy fields. I am the doctor who so carelessly prescribes the world opium. Who do you think it was who had made the alcohol you drink so strong? I am the preservatives in your food that make them taste so good. I am the delivery boy who brings you dishes from a different culture every night of the week. I am the aisles in your supermarket overflowing with food. I am the sugar in your dessert. I am pornography on demand. I am the normalization of sex dolls. It is I who causes every vibrator to shake, and I am the one who pleasures the cam whores you love to donate your money to online. How else do you expect to get your satisfaction out of the power process? I am the catalyst for your money to cause an orgasm. I am the caffeine in your coffee and the estrogen in your milk. I have modified the genetics of all your produce so the yield is greater and the tastes are more pronounced. I am the cheap labor that drives the price of your food so low. I am every microbrewery and whiskey bar in your city. I keep the whores warm in the winter. I was the one who stained your aunt's lips red with wine and the dog that your father has trained to fetch him beer. I am the degeneracy that has brought you all such pleasure. The serotonin and dopamine that fire off inside your head. The uncontrollable laughter when you are high. Every fractal you see when you trip, and all the light show that plays on your eyelids when you shut them. If I am guilty of anything, I am guilty of bringing people joy in a world of suffering and nothing more. What need do I have to read you your charges, if you so proudly boast about them yourself? Dionysus joined Moloch in front of my throne. The chamber is silent. Everything reeks of blood. The trail has ended. This was a kangaroo court. In walked the Fates. They say they are here to clean up the mess we have made. I am glad for it. I want to wipe my hands clean of this bloody ordeal. Outside, the people cheer. They do not know the toll that was paid. Gravestones line the streets. Crows fill the trees and perch on the roof of every building. All of Moloch and Dionysus' followers died with them. What a mess we have made. We will be cleaning up after ourselves for decades. And when we are done cleaning, we will forget. We will forget, and we will repeat. We have done this before, thousands of times. An endless cycle.